In my last video that I made on here, I talked very briefly about how I think reading has kept me in touch with my humanity and has made me a more empathetic, kind of compassionate person. If I didn't, and then I'm saying it now here, that reading is really one of the great joys of my life and has helped me resist the kind of antisocial, destructive attitudes that I've kind of felt inclined to amidst all of my baggage and loneliness and such. So I wanted to come back on here and recommend some books for people who might feel similarly to me and who might be similarly lonely and in search of community constantly. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to recommend three books, starting off with The Last Picture Show by Larry McMurtry. This is a novel by Larry McMurtry, who is a very famous Texas novelist known mostly for his westerns. He has this book, Lonesome Dove, which, if you know anything about books on the internet, you've probably heard of Lonesome Dove. It's this 800-page epic about the dying West. And I remember reading Lonesome Dove. I remember really liking it, but I feel like it might be intimidating to people who maybe don't read as much. So I wanted to give flowers to his other great book, which I think is a lot more accessible because it's a lot shorter, and I think a lot more powerful because of how short it is and all that it leaves up for the reader to interpret and understand about the characters on their own terms. What this book is about is a network of people living in this small Texas town where nothing really happens, no one really gets out. All of their regrets and longings about the past, but especially about these two young boys who don't really have a past because their lives are just starting out and they're kind of trying to decide what their lives after high school are going to entail. And they're surrounded by all of these other people who've lived so much life and are imparting their experiences onto them. Yeah, it's very much a character-driven novel, in my opinion, kind of about the interior lives of all of these people who have something that they can't let go of, whether it's like a lost loved one or whether it is a lost opportunity. So I think it was pretty consolatory to me when I read it because it helped me put words to the loneliness that I was feeling at the time when I was reading it, the great amount of uncertainty that I was feeling right before I really started college. So I think it's a great book, especially for people who are on the verge of something, of starting a new life in some way. So that's my first recommendation, The Last Picture Show. The second book I'm going to recommend is a collection of short stories called The Faith Healer of Olive Avenue by Manuel Munoz. This is a collection of linked stories all about Mexican-American people living in the South Central Valley of California. It's all about their losses, their loneliness, their attempts to connect with other people, their failures to connect with other people. Yeah, and I could summarize each of the stories in here, but I think I'll just summarize the title one, which is probably one of my favorite stories ever. It's about this young man who is in this awful accident and kind of finds his life unraveling before him and the life of his dad as well. And it's just about what he's going to do next, the faith healing that he is in need of after in the wake of this awful tragedy. It's a really sad story and a really sad collection of stories as a whole. But I think its utility comes in the way that it shows people trying to connect with one another and the ways that they kind of talk around each other or misunderstand each other. And seeing that from a reader's perspective, I think, has the potential to help us amend the ways that we talk about love and connection in our own lives. So that's why I think this book is great, and why I would recommend it. The last book that I want to recommend is actually a play. It's called Cost of Living by Martina Majok. This won the Pulitzer in 2018 or 2019, I believe. And it is about two different sets of characters. One of them is a young man who's disabled and his caretaker. And the second one is about a middle-aged woman who's recently disabled after an accident and her ex-husband. And the way the play is structured is it goes back and forth between these two sets of characters until the very end, where the two storylines connect in this really, really special, revelatory, emotional way. And kind of like The Faith Healer of Olive Avenue, it's also about the way that people attempt to communicate with each other and be seen by each other. I'd like to say it's like about people learning how to become vulnerable and let their guards down, because that is necessary to their survival, even though they might not want to acknowledge it. While this play is really sad, like the other books that I've mentioned, the characters themselves are not sad people. They're very funny, very hardworking, industrious people who just happen to find themselves in really hard life situations, but are resilient, and I think they feel so they feel so likable because of their resilience, although they might not say the nicest things sometimes. But yeah, I love this play. I want to talk about the ending, but I don't want to spoil it for anyone, so I'll reserve that for a different conversation with a friend or something. But yeah, that's going to be my 3 book recommendations. If you check any of these out because of me, do let me know. I think that would be really cool to hear that I maybe inspired someone to check one of these out. But in any case, that is going to be the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and yeah, see you.